They blow up the school.
Yeah.
We then go back. We rebuild the road. We rebuild the school. In the meantime, in Alabama and Florida and New York, where they're always fighting for school money, and everywhere else, we can't get any money. Okay? It's crazy. All right. So globalization, so far, and that's really because of leadership. I'm okay with globalization, but not with countries that are making so much money that they're destroying us. We will change that. You know, in New York, I know all of the great business people. And they're vicious, ruthless, horrible human beings in many cases. And I want them negotiating for me. I don't want a diplomat. You know, a diplomat is a person that studies hard. You know what they learn? How to be nice people. I don't want nice people. China.
That's right.
China. What China does, and they have a system that's a little different, tougher.
That's right.
What China does is from the time they're born, they send over their toughest, meanest, smartest people. They don't laugh, they don't cry, they're tough and they're nasty. But we have people that are just as tough, even smarter.
That's right.
And I know them. Why aren't we using them to negotiate? You know, in Japan, which I like very much, I have a lot of Japanese friends. But I was asked, took a little heat for this, but I don't care because I'll say it again. Now I'll take even more with all this press here. But, you know, in Japan, it's in all this trouble. So I was called by one of the news outlets. They said, well, what do you think? Isn't it sad? I said, well, here's the story. For 30 years, they've been ripping us off and taking advantage of us. But I still think we should help. See, don't I have a great heart? No, for 30 years, let's face it, with the cars and the this and the that, and just unbelievable what they got away with. But that's okay. We should still help. They're nice people. Ready? Now, when we first entered Iraq, and this is the point that I think is very important, many people said, that is the smart people, that we were going in because of oil. Remember? We're going into Iraq. Oh, of course. Iraq has the second largest oil wells in the world after Saudi Arabia. I don't know if you know that. Iraq, good book. Great book. I like that guy. The second largest oil wells in the world. In the world. After Saudi Arabia. So they say we're going in. Now, what turned out sadly is that wasn't the case. We've now spent, after many years, like 10, 11, 12, nobody even knows what the year is, $1.5 trillion. Think of this. If you want to have $1 million for Governor Scott to rebuild a school, you can't get it. We've spent $1.5 trillion. I never even heard the word trillion until about 2 years ago. 2 years ago, like trillion became a part. They don't talk billion anymore, they talk trillion. I used to have to say, gee, what does trillion mean? Let me figure this out. I'm a smart guy. Let me figure this out. So we don't hear billions anymore. But you don't hear millions. But if you need $1 million to fix up a school in Boca or any place, you can't get it. So we've spent $1.5 trillion, and more importantly, lost thousands of brave soldiers and military personnel. Not to mention, because I do a lot of work with them, the soldiers that are all over with one arm and no legs and problems, okay? Problems. And they're not even treated well. With everything that they did, ooh, that sounds scary. I'm not surprised. That was Obama. So we spent all this money, all these lives, all of these wounded, because of the fact that we've decapitated the military power of Iraq. You know, for years, Iraq and Iran would be back and forth. One would gain 3 feet. The other, this is the way it works. It's life. Thousands of years, it's life. One goes this way, one goes that way. You know, they start throwing bad bombs. They start doing all sorts of crap with the gases. I mean, it's a disaster. It's great to be in New York. It's great to be in Boca. But for years, they had equal strength. So one would get a little victory. All of a sudden, you'd see it would be turned around. Then they'd sit back and they'd say, all right, look, we'll fight each other in another 20 years. Well, we've decapitated the armies in Iraq. And Iraq, within a short period of time after we leave, Iran will take over Iraq. And I've been told by very smart people that are very much into it, they're already in the process of doing it. They probably won't even have to fire a shot because they're closer to the so-called leaders of Iraq who can't stand us, and frankly, we can't stand them. They're closer to the leaders of Iraq than we are. So as soon as we leave, and by the way, they don't want to mess with us, but we've lost our heart. You know, it's been 10 to 12 years. We've lost the last thing. So I'm saying very simply, and as sure as you're sitting there, that Iraq, within minutes after we leave, will be taken over by Iran. And if that happens, all of those brave soldiers and military personnel that have died for our country will have died in vain. Not to mention the vast amounts of money that's been wasted and could have been used to rebuild the United States, okay? So, ready? Supposedly controversial. You know, sometimes I say, why is it controversial? Why? So, if Iran is going to take over the oil, which we all know it's going to, I think almost every... Do you agree with me that Iran will take it over as soon as... Does everybody agree?
Yeah!
So, if Iran is going to take over the oil, we take the oil. We take it.
Yeah!
Now, by the way, it's estimated that they have $15 trillion worth of oil in Iraq. People don't realize that. They don't realize how rich they are in terms of the oil fields. We give some to Iraq. We pay back ourselves, plus, of course. And also, we pay back Great Britain and the other nations that helped us. They should be paid back too.
Yes.
Plus.
Yes!
Now, in addition to paying ourselves back, I want to pay back the families of the soldiers who died and were so terribly wounded. And you know what? If you gave them a couple of $1 million apiece, can I tell you what? It's peanuts compared to what you're talking about. It's peanuts. It's nothing. Nothing can ever replace their sons and daughters, but at least it can help a little bit. And you're talking about literally peanuts. Okay. In other words, we don't fight a war, hand over the keys to people that hate us, and leave. That's what we do. Think of these wars.
Yeah.
We go into Afghanistan, we fight a little while, we fight, our kids get blown up in their machines, and then we leave. Now, by the way, we win, but we don't win. We're policemen. We're not soldiers anymore. We're policemen.
That's right.
You know, they're all saying very strongly, very, very strongly.
Tell the truth. There's a puppet government in Iraq. There's a puppet government.
Get the U.S. out of the UN.
There's no public
Get
government.
the U.S.
It was
out of the
supposed to be our
UN.
government, but it's not working out. It's not working out.
Tell them, Donald.
And that's the problem that we have in this country.
Get
People
us out
like
of the
this.
UN.
That is the problem that we have in this country. It's a big problem. Now, as far as Libya is concerned, we don't have any policy in Libya. We don't know what we're doing in Libya. We have no idea. We have no idea who the rebels are. You know, it sounds great. Gone with the Wind, the rebels. I hear the rebels are from Iran. I hear they're Al-Qaeda. I hear there's lots of problems with the rebels. So I'm only interested in Libya if, again, we get the oil. If we're not going to get the oil, no interest. No interest whatsoever. Now, very interesting. The Arab League. This was one of the great moments in the history of the United States from an embarrassment standpoint. First of all, France led the charge. You believe this? First time ever. If you remember, France sent the first planes in. They wanted to be first. Obama couldn't even give us that privilege. The Arab League, composed of Saudi Arabia and the richest nations in the world, asked us to go in and rid them of Gaddafi, who they don't like. Why aren't they paying us for this? Why didn't we ask them for payment? They would have paid whatever we wanted. If I would have said, listen, we want $5 billion. You know what that is? That's nothing for these people. I just told you the airport story. That's nothing for these people. They should pay us. So we're already into Libya for hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. Like, we are in there for so much. hundreds and hundreds of $1 million. Unbelievable. We'll be breaking the sacred barriers very soon in terms of cost. And what are we doing it for? Why are we doing it? With all the problems we have here, why are we doing it? So if we do it, we want the oil. Okay. It was recently reported that China's economy grew at a far higher rate. You know, guys.